Fine. Now I have to move on to the next topic, that is test run error. Test run error is another recovery scenario available. Already we have seen pop-up recovery, we have seen object state recovery. Now we are going to see test run error recovery. Prerequisite for the test run error recovery is the sample I am taking require managing descriptive programming. So we have seen in our previous session how to manage a descriptive programming. Now I create a situation, create an instance for test run error. Just a second. I make the base state ready. Yeah. I record now. I insert order. So I'm inserting the order. I'm stopping my recording. Please make sure the first line I have created with dot activate, and that is mandatory in my example of test run error. Right? So I now choose activate. I now choose activate. In this activate, I am now going to open one more flight reservation. I am going to open invoking one more flight reservation. This makes object duplicate. I am opening one more flight reservation. Now you have two flight reservation window. Because of that, the first line window flight activate will fail because more than one object present. Due to that reason, he is going to fail. I run the script. You can see now that it is failing. I am executing the script. He tries to execute line number 1 dot activate. As soon as he sees more than one object, he fails because object description matches. This is not the application failure. It is QTP sends an error message. Test run error means QTP generates an error. I want to manage that error is what test run error is all about. Here the type of error we are right to manage is more than one object. That is the error type that we like to manage. I stop here. I now like to manage this using recovery scenario test run error. I go to resources. I go to recovery scenario manager. Under recovery scenario manager, I am now going to create one independent recovery scenario. Last time we have already seen how to create multiple scenario into one QRS. I am now making it as a separate QRS. I click on new scenario. Under new scenario, I click on next. Test run error is the trigger event that I am choosing. Under test run error, I now choose what is the type of error you want to manage recovery. Any error means for all errors it will manage the recovery. In my case, I want to be more specific. My error is more than one object. If this error appears, I want him to manage the recovery. That's fine, good. What is my recovery event now? I know what is error event that you like to trigger. Now you need to manage what is the recovery event that you want to pass in case more than one object present. Logically speaking, what I need to do, I need to close application process. So item number 2, point number 2 or radio button 2 is the appropriate. Perfect. I close it, but who will open that application then? I can close it, not an issue, but who will open it then? So I need, one is closing of application, second is opening the application, bringing the application to the base state. Base state is now opened window. So I need to do all this activity. For this activity, I cannot use now close application process even though it is suits, but it doesn't do all the job that I require to do. Restart Microsoft again is the same problem. I can restart, then who will open the application, who will bring the application to the base state. So I cannot do the restart as well. So I stop with functional call. This is the only thing which I can use now, because this gives me the flexibility of managing that in myself. Again, library, I have already have a library. I choose that library now. In this library, recovery function 1 is already exists, so I am renaming it to recovery function 2. So he now gives me the object, the flight reservation is the object, method activate is the method which has triggered this particular recovery. Arguments, what is the arguments that you want to pass? Return value, in our case the return value is my error value. So I can use this or I don't have to use this. Now inside this, what I am going to do? Inside this, I am going to close the application process. Second, I am going to invoke the application. Third, enter username and password and bring the application to the base state. This is what I like to do. This is nothing but what we have seen under descriptive programming, reusable action script we have modified, because that has closing of application process, that has login, invoking of application, that has a login. Here, since there is no repository, I have only one object. Flight reservation is the object, I have it in my repository. Whereas what I need is, I want dialog window of a login, username, password. These objects I want to be present. I cannot now use repository because those objects I don't have it in the repository. So I am forced to now use descriptive programming on that objects. So if you know the commands, you can start typing in, or I can update it later. I will say next. Please remember, function doesn't have anything. So inside the function, I am going to update later. I say next. Do you want to add any more call? No, I don't want to add. I click on next now. Now post recovery event. What do you want to do? What we did, I don't know where it has failed. I closed the application process. I reopened the application. I come to the base state. Now if I have to continue my script, I need to restart my current test run, because this test at which line he has failed, I am not sure. So I need to restart the current test run. That is my post recovery event. So next, scenario name, I give it as TRE, test run error. Next, save the file, add to the current test. Please note, under this now current test, I don't have my functions loaded, it is empty. I say finish, save it. I save it as a new QRS file. I call it as test run error QRS. Right? So I say recovery test run error. I make it as a recovery. I save it under online recovery as my framework folder. This is done. If I run the script, he will be iterating without a stop, because function, he goes to the function is empty, he comes back, again he triggers the recovery, he restarts the current test run, he comes back, again he sees that activate gives it more objects present, so he goes to the function. So he iterate, restart, reiterates, he never stops. What we need to do now, inside that function, I save this file as my TRE. This is my script TRE. I open now descriptive programming that we have saved, because this descriptive programming exactly has all the information that we want to use. I copy this. This descriptive programming has all the information that I like to use. So I copy this. I now put it under that function. Where is the function? Start. So I have a notepad called recovery. Under this recovery, now I put all the values that I like to use over here. So under this notepad, I copy now whatever I like to do. I am just reducing the font, or I remove the wrap text so that you know how the lines are set. Please note now what he uses is the entire script that we have. It is going to manage without a repository, and that he is going to close the application, that is the line number 1. He invokes the application, that is line number 2. He sets the variable, it is line number 3, 4, 5. He set the Mercury password onto the object winEdit. He set the password onto the object winEdit. Then he goes to the click on OK button, end function. So the function is now ready, saved it, close it. Now if I have already opened that application in the open mode, then this may not get loaded. As I now open the fresh application, that is my TRE file, what it happens here is it loads now entire thing into the memory. It loads functional library if you have associated. If it loads the recovery functions if it is associated. So now it loads both those. Now the function is already done changes. Now the function is loaded with the script that we have added. Now it is ready. I am going to execute the script. Please note, descriptive programming, the way we modified that reusable action, you should know. You have to visit our descriptive programming session for that clarity. I run this. I say run. Now what he is going to do is he is going to activate. When he activates, he sees the failure. Before he sees the failure, he triggers the recovery. Recovery manages that, and then he manages the application. He reopens, restarted the run, and he is now executing on that new test run. So there are two runs now. One run with error which invoked the fresh application instant, and you told him to restart the current test run. So he restarted the current test run. That's a second run. Now he executes. That is how he manages the recovery. Here we use descriptive programming concept to manage it, to get better clarity on how you can manage your recovery in different ways. Right? We have done it. When you triggered the recovery, you might have noticed there was a pop-up restart that our shutdown process screen. That's the first time it appears. Later it doesn't appear. You have to click cancel, then he continues. So this is how test run error recovery is managed. Right? So I am just taking it, that recovery portion, how we created. I am opening the recovery scenario. I am going to edit the test run error recovery. I am editing the test run error recovery using the edit icon. This will explain you what we have done. First is trigger event. I have chosen the trigger event test run error. In this trigger event, what is the error for which you want to trigger the recovery. I have chosen more than one object because that is the case I want to trigger the recovery. Next, I go to my functional call. What is that functional call you want to use? In our case, we use now recovery. In that recovery, function 2 is what we have used. If I want to remove it, I can remove it. I can add it again. I come to the next. I come to the recovery operation. In recovery operation, I need to use functional call. I choose the functional call and I click on next. I came to the next. I choose now the recovery from the file. Now you can see that recovery function 2 is the selected function. I have two functions available. One is recovery function 2, another is recovery function 1. In this recovery function 2, which is already added with the script, you can see that below. I now go to next. My recovery is over. I want post recovery event. I go to next. In my case, it is a restart current test run. I click next. I finish my script. I save my script. This is how I triggered the recovery. Once recovery is added, you are now bringing the application, that is flight reservation. I have more instance of flight reservation. If it has only one instance, it doesn't trigger the recovery. So I create more instance, say Mercury. Now I created more instance. If I run the scripts, I know the script will fail. Before the script fails, it sees that there is a trigger event called and he triggers that now. I am going to run the script. It is now going to see there are two flight reservations exist. Before he sends the error, he sees that has been triggered by the recovery and recovery manages that now. He restarts the current test run and then now he starts from line number 1. At this time there is no problem for the uniqueness, so he started executing the script. After this we'll see the report, how the report look like. Now he has done the job. After he has done the job, now I am going to get into reports, and reports, let us see how it will manage. So I go to automation, results. This is my last run results. In this last run result, it will show you, you can see the way the result is created. In this result, you can see now post recovery 1, that is restarted result. Here you may not see that recovery is managed because it is already been managed by my previous run. This is post recovery event. I go back, I open the previous report, I open, select which test that you want to open the report. For each test, under that test folder, all the reports are saved. In our case, we maintained everything under online. And then into the scripts. In this scripts, TRE is my script name. This is my script. Under this script, I have all my run result. You can see now result 3 is the last run result. So result 3 is the previous run. I say open now. This is where you see that he has triggered the recovery. So you can open it, you can now see flight reservation activate has generated an error because of more object, and since you have triggered the recovery, this is supposed to fail. Since before failure he sees that you have triggered the recovery, and that recovery is calling the function, and that function is doing all this job. You can see what all the job he has done, and the post recovery is restart the current test run. He has restarted the current test run. One important point I like to remind, post recovery event work only if you have a script debugger installed. If you have not installed script debugger in your machine, post recovery event will not get triggered. Please make sure whenever you are calling in your project recovery scenarios, you need to have a script debugger installed in the machine where you are running the script. So that is about recovery event. Test